All right, what is up, MMA fans? My name is Brian Nichols. This is episode number 1 of a new series of content I'm hoping to start. I'm naming it MMA Hot Topics. I'm using this series to hopefully go over the entire MMA gambit, including fight announcements, actual fights, issues with fights, things outside of the fights, you name it. I'm hoping to discuss it, go deeper, kind of flesh out ideas. And so with episode number 1, I'm hoping to discuss two things. First thing being Tyron Woodley discussing moving up to middleweight in 2019. And then topic number 2 being the possibility of Edson Barboza versus Justin Gaethje. So without further ado, let's move on to topic number 1. All right, so Tyron Woodley has just recently discussed, I think it was yesterday, that he has the intentions of moving up to middleweight from welterweight at the end of 2019. I thought this was an interesting topic to bring up by Mr. Tyron Woodley, and I had some ideas and thoughts on it. My first thing is how I want my champions to be, at least when it comes to the UFC, is I like champions that clean out divisions. Anderson Silva, Mighty Mouse, GSP. These are the champions that stand out in your mind when they're just completely unbeatable and they're just cleaning out the division. Is Tyron Woodley at that point? I don't know. I feel like he's almost there. I was looking at the rankings to see what other fighters in the top 15 that Woodley hasn't fought. He's definitely fought, obviously, the top 5, 6 and beat all them. But there are a couple that I think if they get a couple key wins, maybe against those top 5 guys, they could go up and fight Woodley. They could challenge Woodley for the title. So we all know that I think it's actually been finalized that Woodley will be fighting Usman for the title next. Now, I know some people have been saying that Covington should be next. I kind of have to agree. The guy won the interim title. I don't even want to get on the interim title discussion, but come on, the guy had an interim title, and he got stripped of it. It's like, whatever. But in my opinion, I think Covington should be next, not Usman. But hey, the UFC machine is all about opportunity, when it strikes hot. So Usman was able to get it, and so Usman's up next. So in my opinion, what I think I would assume what Woodley has in mind is if he's able to get through Usman, beat him, and then finally fight Covington, and by that time, maybe to Woodley, he would think that he's cleaned out the division, and then that now he could move up to middleweight and probably try to attempt to become the old champ, double champ, by winning the middleweight strap. Now, when I looked at the rankings, there was 2 fighters that I thought would be interesting fights for Tyron Woodley. The thing is, one of them probably will never happen, but the one fight is Santiago Ponzinibbio. Here, I'll actually show you the rankings I was looking at. And if you look here, Santiago's ranked 7th currently. Now, if you look at his record, he actually has 7 wins in a row. Neil Magny, Mike Perry, Gunnar Nelson, Nordine Taleb, Zach Cummings. These are good wins. Decision, KO, decision. So a couple of decisions in there, but he's stacking up the wins here, and he's still ranked 7th. I feel like if Ponzinibbio gets maybe he gets Darren Till next. I don't think any fight has been announced for Santiago, so maybe if he gets Darren Till next, if he wins against Darren Till, I think that's an easy shot up for Ponzinibbio. Maybe after Usman as well as Covington for Woodley. If he's able to get past both of those, Ponzinibbio could be next. The other person I was thinking was Ben Askren, but I remember they both went to, I want to say, Mizzou. So I don't think they'll ever fight each other, which is interesting. I wonder what Ben Askren's going to do, because if he's never going to go for the strap, well, maybe he's going to wait and see if the UFC actually implements a 165 division and try that. So not sure what's going to happen there. So So what I'm trying to say is I don't think Woodley's completely clean out the division. I still think there's people there that he could challenge. So, but let's not kid ourselves. We're talking about the UFC here. People can move weight classes whatever you want. You know, Conor won the featherweight, went right up to lightweight. You know, granted he had a little in between with Nate. So, if Tyron does go to middleweight, I was kind of thinking about that as well, and you know, obviously he thinks he could probably become champ because if you think about it, I think he actually mentioned this as well as both Gastelum and Whitaker, who are going to be fighting for the middleweight. You know, Whitaker's going to defend against Gastelum next. Both of those guys were welterweights at first. So to Woodley, he's like, you know, hey, the champ and the guy fighting the champ next were both in welterweight. Why can't I move up and beat them at middleweight? You know, follow them up and win it. In which, you know, Woodley already beat Gastelum once, so totally doable. Totally doable. Now, my argument against that is there are guys up in middleweight that are big. We're talking Rockhold, Weidman, who else is up there? Adesanya. Like, these are big dudes. I know Woodley's he's powerful. But I don't know, man. Size and these body sizes is what really I think helps influence some of these fights. Like for example, man, the Mousasi and Rory fight. I thought that would be a lot more competitive, but look how, I don't want to say how easy it was for Mousasi, but man, Mousasi just put it on him, and Mousasi just looked huge in there, and that was welterweight to middleweight. So Woodley going up and maybe fighting Adesanya or Rockhold, unless, you know, Rockhold does move up to light heavyweight like he's kind of been talking about. So would Woodley be able to hang with them? You know, it's a tough question to answer. There's that, but then there's this other part. I don't want to make it a focal point, but it's an interesting point to bring up, is that all these issues with the UFC and Woodley trying to come to an agreement on a contender to defend against, as well as a date and time. I know Woodley sometimes, you know, of course he has injuries and he wants to be out and get those fixed up, but you know, we see this back and forth between Dana and Tyron Woodley, and you know, if I was the UFC, if they are having a difficult time trying to reach an agreement with Woodley, do they really want to have that times two, with Woodley being welterweight and middleweight? So that's one interesting topic to bring up, but you know, is that even a topic to discuss? Because what do we know with the UFC nowadays? When you become champ, it doesn't matter, because usually your lower belt just gets, you know, yanked away anyway. So maybe you could just move up, win that middleweight belt, get his welterweight belt pulled, bam, you know, champ, and then he continues on in middleweight. He could do that. What else did I have? You know, with that, one little discussion I want to have about that is what is the UFC ever going to allow a champ to actually attempt to defend both belts? Why do they think there's just not enough time? Or let me rephrase this. That they won't be active enough in each division. Like, let's say if they take a fight in, like, let's say Daniel Cormier, champ, got his light heavyweight, and then he got his heavyweight, and then he defended his heavyweight. I almost want to say he was the first defending champion, or champ, but he never went back down to light heavyweight. And he's now let it go, and of course John Jones has it now. So to me, we still haven't had a champ that's defended both of his belts, like back and forth. I feel like you want to move up or move down, I guess, kind of like what TJ is about to do this weekend. Win a belt, then go back to your original division, defend your belt, go back to your new division, win your belt there, kind of go back and forth. But maybe the UFC looks at that timeline of between fights and there's time being wasted in one division when they're defending in the other. Maybe that's why they yank away your first belt. So, so with that was the interesting thoughts I had on Woodley moving up to middleweight. It would definitely be interesting. Definitely opens up new matches and possibilities that he doesn't have at welterweight currently. I think once Woodley takes out Usman and Covington, of course, if he's able to defeat both of them, maybe Ponzinibbio. Other than that, yeah, I feel like he's almost cleaned out the division, so he could definitely move up middleweight and start a whole new career there, So let me know what your thoughts on that, and let's move on to topic number 2. All right, topic number 2, Edson Barboza and Justin Gaethje. Could you imagine? This is like a fight that just speaks violence. This is something descendant upon the MMA gods. I really hope this fight happens. It's going to be crazy. Some of the notes and some of the things I wanted to mention about this fight is looking at the division for lightweight. It is stacked. Let's look over at the rankings real quick. All right, so here we have Justin Gaethje at rank 7 and Edson Barboza rank 6. So ranking wise, good matchup, right next to each other, makes sense. Now, let's say Barboza wins this. I think Barboza, other than, let me bring up his page here. I mean, he had that loss against Khabib, so I don't think Barboza is going to be getting up to get a title shot anytime soon. But he also lost to Kevin Lee, but that fight with Dan Hooker, woo! I tell you what, beast, straight beast. So that's why I'm excited for the Justin Gaethje fight, because we all know how Justin Gaethje fights, and we all know how Mr. Barboza fights when he's not being kind of drugged to the ground. So for Barboza, I almost feel like he needs this fight and almost another fight to possibly get a shot at the title, but I feel like he almost has to, all of the fighters are continuously trying to get better at each martial art, and I don't know if Barboza is ever going to be able to beat Khabib. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know with how Khabib just manhandled Barboza. I don't know how it's going to happen. So I don't know how Barboza is going to get a shot. It's a great fight, ranking-wise. But with Gaethje, if he wins this, I mean, what his last fight was, it was Vic. Let's bring up his page. Justin Gaethje. So if we look at Gaethje's page, sure dog. He had those. Man, he's only had 4 fights in the UFC so far, 2-2. Michael Johnson, James Vick, that knockout James Vick. Woo! But then that fight with Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier, jeez. I don't know. It's if Gaethje wins this, I feel like if we look back at the rankings, if Gaethje wins this, I feel like he could maybe get a shot at maybe Kevin Lee or Ali Quinta, or maybe even Conor. It's tough. It's tough pickings. It's just so stacked. But it's a good fight. I'm excited. I really hope it happens. What was the other thing I wanted to mention? Oh, leg kicks all day long. Gonna be sick. Assuming it's gonna be a main event, it'll be 5-minute rounds, so that'll be good. What else did I have add here? So if Barboza wins, where can he go from here? If we look at, so again, if the UFC makes a 165-pound division, maybe Barboza could move up to there. But obviously that seems like that's not the case, so who knows. But Barboza, he could get maybe Ali Quinta. I don't think he's fought Dustin or Conor, so So I guess both Gaethje and Barboza, either one of those guys wins that. They could almost get up and get that red panty fight with Conor. They could get with Dustin. Heck, even Tony Ferguson, that maniac, he's just fighting to keep fighting. Like he should be next in the line and get that shot at Khabib, but he's out here just destroying kids. So it's wild, wild west down here at lightweight. So I wanted to talk about that and how hyped that'll be if that happens. I'm super excited. I really hope it happens. Let me know in the comments what you think about that fight. And with that, that is the second and last topic of the video for today. So coming up on the agenda, I'm hoping to do one more video before the UFC fights this weekend in Brooklyn between Henry Cejudo defending his belt against TJ Dillashaw. I'm not sure what video I want to do there. I'd like to try an MMA breakdown, but we'll see. But if anything, I'd like to make a video before that, maybe just an event preview on that. So thanks for watching. Give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Let me know in the comments, and if anything, enjoy the fights this weekend.